Okay. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Let's see if we can get this right here. God bless you. Thank you guys for coming in. It's Apostle Kimberly. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Y'all. So I came on this morning, and I was preparing to do the broadcast on this morning about divine interruptions. And guess what happened? I was interrupted. Okay, big time. I was interrupted, and I had to, everything shut down, like everything absolutely positively shut down. And I had to regroup and find out what was going on. Internet crashed in the house. Let me tell you, everything went haywire this morning as I was getting ready to talk about this whole idea of divine interruption. So just because the devil tried to stop us, we're going to start all over again. So come on in. Come on in. Wherever you're tuning in from, whatever platform you're coming in on, God bless you. Thank you for being here. Hey, Missy, thank you for coming back in. I see we have some followers on TikTok that are here. Let's do it. So let's go on and invite others in the broadcast and get ourselves set up here to talk about this whole idea of these divine interruptions, right? These divine interruptions. So let's see here. Let's see if we can get this going over here. Yes. Who else is coming on? Excuse me. Who else is coming on? When you come on, tell me what your name is. Tell me where you're joining us from as we get back into our conversation about these divine interruptions. I'm telling you, these divine interruptions. So listen. Let's see what's going on over here. With our, because I love to do my broadcast with a little bit of background music. So I have my other computer over here, and okay, it's not connecting. Y'all, what's going on today? What's going on today? What's going on today? Let's see here.
Why should you use Miro? When you draw on a whiteboard, no one sees it. With Miro, you plan together in real.
This is really, really weird. All kind of stuff going on today, y'all. Oh my goodness. But we're going to move forward anyhow. Anybody else having a kind of weird Monday? It's a little bit weird, but it's okay. We're going to go forth anyway, okay? So thank you guys for being on. I am Apostle Kimberly Jones. My husband and I are overseers of Force Glory Global, which is an apostolic ministry that provides oversight, discipleship, training and development, evangelism and outreach, and we provide covering for leaders who are in the body of Christ, whether they're pastors or they're leading out in some other type of ministry. We provide that point of accountability and support and love to help people to fulfill their kingdom assignment, the mandate that's on their lives, and the way that God uses them to advance the kingdom. So that's what we're doing these days. We were pastoring for 20 years in the traditional sense, and the Lord said, you know what? Enough of that. Now I'm going to shift you, and I'm going to snatch you out of the four walls of the church. And now you're going to be out here preaching, praying, prophesying, doing all of these things for the advancement of the kingdom on a whole new level. And so we're excited about that. We're thrilled about that. We are honored that God would choose us for such an assignment. So so that's who we are. That's what we do. And that's how we do it. I'm glad that you guys are here. And so in addition to being overseers for Forest Glory and Repairing the Altar, which is our prayer ministry, in addition to being overseers for that, we are also heading out a 24-hour global prayer room, y'all. 24 hours. I want y'all to join us in our global prayer room, okay? If you know that you're an intercessor, you know that you've been called to do something as it pertains to prayer and intercession, I want you to join us I want you to I want you to, I'm gonna put a link here, and I want you to click on that link, and I want you to join us in our prayer room, 24 hours. Okay. There we go. Prayer at the altar. And then the passcode is 506972. There we go. There we go. Oh, I did that wrong. That's the wrong one. Prayer at the ALTAR. Okay, that's what it should be, y'all. Instead of the first one I put out there. Prayer at the altar. There we go. It's this one right here. So let's see who else is on. Is that Janine? Blessings to you. So glad that you're on. So glad that you're on. Thank you for tuning in. 506972 is our passcode. Okay. So so come on and join us in our global prayer room where we have intercessors from all over the world who are coming in and praying. We do 30-minute shifts out there in the Zoom room. We also come on Clubhouse. We also come on in our Facebook group and all those sorts of things. But God is moving. Nonetheless, God is moving. God is moving. And so are we. God is moving, and so are we. Can somebody say, I am moving? I am going to keep it moving no matter what. No matter how crazy this Monday gets, I'm going to keep it moving. No matter how many things shut down and shut off. Listen, the enemy does not want me to get this message out here. Oh my God. He doesn't want me to get this message out here, but I'm going to say it, preach it, pray it anyhow. And that's what the enemy would desire for us to do, not only in the case of doing lives and things of that sort, but at a higher level. The enemy always comes in to throw a monkey wrench in the plans that God has for our lives. But we got to get to the point where we say, enough is enough. Enough is enough. I'm not giving up. I'm not backing down. I'm not going to be intimidated by the tricks of the enemy, right? So we got to be those that will stand after we have done all to stand, okay? And so I'm just out here sharing this message about divine interruptions. The Lord gave me a prophetic word a couple weekends ago about divine interruptions. We are in the second quarter of 2023. Can y'all believe it? We are in the second quarter of 2023 already. And so we don't have any time to waste. We don't have any time to lose. We don't have any time to cry over spilt milk. That we got to we got to keep it moving and stay in the cadence and the pace that God is moving in this season, okay? And so in addition to us being in ministry and doing things like this, coming out on social media and sharing the word of the Lord prophetically, I'm also a full-time entrepreneur. I'm at the helm of Living on Purpose Life and Empowerment Coaching, and I love coaching people into their destinies, okay? I love being able to journey down the path of purpose and destiny with individuals who are wondering, man, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? What have I missed? I love being able to coach them into the reality that they must live on purpose and make every day count. And so it's nothing more fulfilling for me to see people realize that, you know what? I was a purpose before I was a person. I was a purpose first. I was talking about this earlier before everything shut down. I was talking about how we are all God's idea, right? That we were birthed in the mind of God before we were birthed out through our mother's wombs, okay? And so our existence started before we ever existed, all right? Our existence started before we ever existed. And so we got to begin to look at ourselves not just from the here and now. Of course, we got to pay attention to what's going on now, the moving parts in our lives right now. But I believe that if we really understood that before we were formed in our mother's wombs, God knew us. Somebody type that. God knew me. Like he knew you. He knew everything about you. He knew. I'm telling you, you are God's purpose in the earth. I believe, this is what I believe happens. Hey, Minister Charlene, how are you? Hey, how are you? Dr. Renee, Sunday, blessings to you. Good to see you on. I believe this, y'all. I believe that I believe this is how it happens, okay? I don't believe that we are arbitrarily created and then God is trying to figure out what to do with us. I don't believe that in any sense of the word, okay? I don't believe that. I believe it goes the other way. I believe that God sees or discovers a need in the earth, and then he creates us to fulfill that need. And that's where our purpose comes in. That God sees a gap somewhere, he sees something missing, and then what he does is he wraps flesh around purpose. Oh my goodness. I love this. I love this. Every time I say this, every time I teach this, it helps me. I believe that God wraps flesh around purpose and then he catapults us into the earth. And so many times, if we are not aware of the sovereignty of God, of the fact that he is the one that is, that was, and that is to come. So that means that he encompasses all time, right? That he defies time, that he's at our beginning and he's at our end all at the same time. And so until we understand that about God, we may be confused and thinking that, well, God, what are you going to do with me? And are you trying to figure me out? And no. It doesn't work that way. God knows our name before we are ever named. And so I do believe that we are a purpose before we're a person, and God wraps flesh around purpose. He catapults us in the earth. Hey, April. And then we are called here to fulfill a particular assignment. And if we are not careful, we'll miss it. And we'll think that we're just here and there's no rhyme or reason to our lives. Each and every one of us was created on purpose and for purpose. Hadn't even intended on going there, but somebody needs to hear that this afternoon, that you were created on purpose and for purpose. Can somebody type that? I was created on purpose and for purpose. I am not a mistake. I am not a fluke. I am not an afterthought. That I am God's idea. Sometimes, hey, Nora, hey, Minister Nora, how are you? Sometimes what happens is life starts to life, right? Life be lifing, right? Life gets to lifing. And we think that our destiny or what happens in our life is only what we can see, right? It does not go beyond our human intervention. But for those of us who understand, man, I was created in the image and after the likeness of God, that he created me on purpose and for purpose. And even though things might be a little bit crazy in my life, I know that there is a reason why I'm here. There's a reason why I'm here, and I'm going to keep it moving. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to check out. I'm not going to throw in the towel. I'm going to continue to journey down this path of life, right? Until it begins to make sense, until I press past every obstacle and every challenge and everything that the enemy, every weapon that the enemy forms against me, I decree and declare that it will not prosper, okay? I don't know. I'm just feeling a little bit of a shift in the room this afternoon. I feel like there's somebody that needs to understand that those things that are in front of you right now, that they are not greater than your God. They're not greater than God. They're not more powerful than God. That God has the final say about our lives. And that's why when we talk about things like divine interventions, what we begin to think about is how God's sovereignty overrides and overrules anything that the enemy could try and he could devise to use against us, okay? And so I just want to encourage somebody this afternoon. I want to just give you a word of encouragement that will prompt you to keep on moving forward. Don't you dare stop. We are in the second quarter of 2023, and that's right. I saw Coach Missy put up there, Happy New Year. Every month I'm celebrating as if it were January 1st, okay? Every first of the month, you're going to hear me say Happy New Year, because I believe that, one of the important things that we got to learn is that that we cannot allow our circumstances and what's going on around us dictate how we live, and our expectation and our anticipation for God to do something amazing in our lives. And so, you know how we are at the beginning of the year. We're very excited. We're very passionate. We're very hyped about the year. We are putting things behind us and we're forging ahead. We're regrouping. We're hitting the reset button, all of those types of things, right? And it gives us the strength and it gives us the hope and the courage to move forward in a new year, right? It's like we are wiping the slate clean so that we can start all over again. So I believe that this year that we got to keep that type of enthusiasm. We got to keep that type of hope and faith in front of us, so that we don't lose steam as we progress through the year, okay? So that we don't lose steam, that we continue to keep our eyes fixed on God and we continue to believe him for the very best, okay? We continue to believe that there's nothing too hard for him, y'all, that it just doesn't apply to January 1st, but it applies all year long. So, April 1st, I'm out here saying Happy New Year, and I'll be doing the same for the rest of the months of the year. Happy New Year, because it is an opportunity for us to hit the reset button. It's an opportunity for us to wipe the slate clean. Doesn't matter what happened first quarter of 2023. We're in a new quarter. We're in a new month, and we can have the expectation that God is going to blow our minds. This is what the Lord has said. He says that 2023 is going to be a year of perpetual crossovers. Perpetual crossovers. Crossing over in January, February, March, April, May, June, and so on and so forth. It's going to be a year of perpetual crossovers. That means that God is extending. Oh, I love when I say this too. Like, this ministers to me. I don't know about y'all, but this helps me. Every time I say this whole idea of crossing over every month, it means that God is going to extend the place of our territory. He's going to enlarge the place of our territory. He's going to give us new things to do. He's going to reveal new things to us. He's going to give us fresh perspective. He's going to give us a fresh perception. All of that. God's going to do that. I believe that. I don't know about you. But that excites me every time I hear it. And so it's not business as usual. It's not church as usual. It's not life as usual. But we have to be at the place where, there are no limits and no boundaries. Can somebody type that this afternoon? I'm kind of hyped, y'all. I'm kind of hyped. No limits and no boundaries, Tara. No limit. How you doing, darling? Good to see you on. No limits and no boundaries for 2023. And we're in a new quarter. We're moving and shaking, and it doesn't matter what has happened thus far, because what's ahead of us is greater than what is behind us, right? I was created on purpose and for purpose. That's right, Nora. I was created on purpose and for purpose. Y'all decree and declare that. Come on. No limits, no boundaries. Come on, get your faith up this afternoon. No limits, no boundaries. And even if I don't even have to have seen it, right, to believe it. I don't have to see it to believe it. Like, I know that God is doing exceedingly and abundantly above all I could ever ask or think, according to the power that's working in me. And so I'm telling you, I've had to fight through some things this morning. It's been kind of a funny kind of Monday so far, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We press beyond what we see with our natural eyes. And obviously, somebody needs to hear this today, that you must pass beyond what you see with your natural eyes. And even though it may seem hard and difficult, you are more than a conqueror. You are more than a conqueror. So listen, this whole thing of, it's so funny. It's so funny. Divine interruptions, right? And right in the middle of my doing a broadcast earlier today about divine interruptions, everything shuts down. Like, everything shuts down. I'm logged out of all of my devices. I can't get into the global prayer room. It's just crazy, right? And I'm like, okay, you got jokes. And so there's an interruption right in the middle of all of that. But I believe that it's an object lesson, y'all, because isn't that how life happens? Like, you're just trucking along. You're moving and you're shaking. Things are happening. Things are working out. And then all of a sudden you're blindsided by something. And it's like, you have been disconnected from your source of power. You've been disconnected, from your success, or, your ability to move forward. It's like, you get the wind knocked out of your lungs, and you're like, what's going on? Everything was great. Why are things changing now? Right. So sometimes we experience things like that. However, what I believe is that these things, like, I'm not going to attribute all of these things to the enemy. Okay. I'm not going to give him that much say and that much room in my life. But what I do believe is that there are times where God will come in and he will intentionally and divinely interrupt our monotony. He'll interrupt our patterns, our routines. He'll kind of get us off of the beaten path, right? To pay attention to what he's doing. Because this is the truth of the matter. Sometimes we are more into what we're doing than we are into what God's doing. Oh my goodness. Did y'all get that? Or am I the only one? Sometimes we get this tunnel vision and we think that what we want to do, what we desire to do, is greater than what God desires to do. We may not say it, but our actions speak louder than words. And so we have to be very, very cognizant in this hour that when God is shifting us and moving us and he's rearranging things in our lives, that we don't curse what God is doing, okay? Because many times it will be a divine interruption. Now, I want to talk about this and look at the life of Moses. Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? If you're ready, type ready. Did you share out the broadcast? Did you share the TikTok? Come on, let somebody know. This is getting ready to get really, really good. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it really quick, okay? We're going to talk about the life of Moses and how we can learn from his life and get a lesson about divine interruptions. And so I talked about it a little bit in the first part of divine interruptions. I'm doing this as a series, okay? And so anytime you guys see me, come on, make sure you get in the room so that you can get all of the download, okay? And so I talked about it on last week. I talked about Saul on the road to Damascus and him turning, him losing his sight and all of that, and God just totally transforming his life. And that was the moment in time when his purpose was realized, okay? And so some of us learned very early. For me, I didn't really understand who I was. I really didn't understand what my purpose was until I got a little older, okay? Because my early years, my 20s, man, I was out there doing my thing, okay? So it wasn't until I was in my early to really mid 30s that I really understood what my purpose actually was, and really not only understood it, but I kind of leaned into it, okay? I didn't resist it. I stopped resisting what it was that God was trying to do in my life. I threw up the white flag of surrender and said, God, you can have your way. And so it was during that time of my life where I realized that what God had called me to do was so much greater than I was. And I believe that that's what happened to Paul on the road to Damascus. And I also believe that that's what happened when Moses, oh my goodness, when Moses realized that he was the one that God had slated to be the deliverer for the children of Israel. Okay. You guys know that story, right? So Moses, he grows up in Pharaoh's, under Pharaoh's charge in Pharaoh's house. And then he has this incident where, he realizes, who he is, and he defends one of his Hebrew brothers and ends up killing an Egyptian. And when he does that, he flees to Midian. Y'all remember that? You can read all of that in the book of Exodus. The first and second and third chapter talks about how Moses really experienced a divine interruption. And so the first divine interruption was to get him positioned, okay? Was to get him positioned for purpose. Position for purpose. So even though he ran from his background, he ran from his past, he ended up tending to Jethro's flocks. Remember that? He ended up tending to Jethro's flocks as he ran from his past. But really what he didn't understand was that even in and of itself was a divine interruption, that he was there, but it was only a positioning for his purpose. And so many times God will have to move us. There might be some things that happen in our lives. And I don't believe that everything that happens, every negative thing in our lives, that it had to happen. But what I do believe is that God will use every part, every detail of our lives to bring him glory and also to advance the kingdom and to position us. Okay. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Have you ever been in a particular situation or place in your life and you're kind of trying to figure out, why am I here? Why are things this way? And then later on down the line, you understood that it was a setup. Can somebody type that? It was simply a setup. It was a setup. And I think that that's what happened to Moses, is that even though, he ran from Egypt, he ran into, the mountain, on the backside of the mountain, tending to Jethro's flocks, that it was still just the positioning. And some of you that are listening on this afternoon, you're wondering why you are where you are right now. And can I tell you that it's just a setup? It's just a setup, okay? It's just a setup. Where you are, where you find yourself right now, it's just a setup. And that's what happened to Moses. He was there, and I love what the Bible says. If you look at Exodus, the 2nd chapter, and you look at the 21st verse, I want y'all to listen to this, okay? I want y'all to listen to this. Hey, Kayla. Is that my Kayla? I want you to listen to this. It says, and Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah, his daughter. And so it's the first part of that scripture that I really want to hone in on. It says that Moses was content to dwell with the man. Lord have mercy. This is the reason right here why divine interruptions are necessary. Somebody type, it's necessary. This is why divine interruptions are necessary. This explains the whole thing. This explains exactly what God spoke to me a couple weeks ago when he said, tell the people that there are going to be some divine interruptions in their lives, that it's going to be as if the rug is swept from under their feet, and everything is going to change in quick time. Because we tend to get very content in situations, right? So it's kind of like this. It's like, I'm not where I used to be, but I'm not where I'm supposed to be, but I'm just going to stay right here because I'm comfortable. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. How many times have we gotten stuck in seasons of comfortability? How many times have we gotten stuck in places where, you know what, everything is just okay? You don't challenge yourself. You're not pressing for anything more. You're not looking for anything more. You're just kind of content, like Moses was. Moses was content with the man. He was content, but he was standing in a place where he was in the middle between his past and his purpose. Lord have mercy. He was right in a place. He was in the middle. He was in between his past and his divine purpose, right? And so he was in this place of complacency. He was kind of settled there. He thought that this was going to be his end. He felt like, okay, I'm not with the Pharaoh anymore. I'm away from, what I did and who I was and my reputation for being a killer. I've separated myself from all of that. Nobody knows me here in Midian. Jethro doesn't know about my past. He's given me his daughter Zipporah as a wife. I am doing okay. Oh my goodness. Who am I talking to this afternoon? Who is in the land of okay? And I'm not talking about Oklahoma. Who's in the land of okay? Think, you've made it through some stuff. You've got delivered from some stuff. You're not doing what you used to do. You've gotten out of some situations. You've lived beyond some bad choices and all of that. And now you find yourself sitting in a place of just being content. Just being content. Not really reaching for more, not expecting anything more, kind of settling. I'm stepping on somebody's toes this afternoon. Who am I talking to? I'm stepping on somebody's toes this afternoon. Listen. Listen, and it will lead you back there. If you listen, it will lead you back. Tara over on TikTok says, but now I'm back where Pharaoh is. And we don't want that to happen. So let me tell you what God does. He will divinely interrupt our lives and snatch us up out of complacency, out of being lackadaisical, and out of a place of just settling. Come on, somebody. Somebody that's listening on this afternoon, you have just settled for something. You've settled for a job. You've settled for a relationship. You've settled for, where you are in your business. You've settled for where you are spiritually. You just settled. You just settled. You lost your ability to fight. You lost your ability to believe God for more. You've lost your ability to work for more. And you're just sitting in a place kind of buying time. Right? You're kind of marking time, not making any great advances, not seeing things develop in your life or progress in your life. Well, the Lord would have you to know that he is coming to divinely interrupt all of that because it's time for you to make a move. It's time for you to make a move. It's time for you to realize who you are. It's time for you to know that your life is more than what you see in front of you right now. That there is more to your life than being content and being comfortable where you are. All right? Are y'all with me? Did y'all share out the broadcast? Go on and invite somebody in. It's going to get gooder and gooder. So go on and invite somebody else into the broadcast. So glad you guys have tuned in this afternoon. Let me tell you, we have had a bit of a challenge getting things going. Started, and let me tell you the truth of the matter. I'm going to get back to Moses, but let me tell you how my day started, okay? So I get up a little bit after 4 because I have to get on to our 5 a.m. Call, our prayer call in the mornings that I get on. And so I got up and, got everything rolling really early, was ready. I got some things put in place, some processes that I needed to do today for business and all of that, just moving and shaking, y'all. Got myself together, got dressed, got ready to come live. I was like, okay, we're moving and shaking. We're going to get some things done today. This is going to be a good day. And so I get on my broadcast and 20 minutes in, everything shuts down. Everything shuts down, right? And so I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and we finally figure it out and get everything back up and running. And, by this time, I got to make a choice. I got to make a choice because it's almost like, thank you. It's almost like, man, I was moving and shaking. I talked to my husband. I said, honey, I was moving and shaking. I was getting things done. And then everything shut down, right? So we had to make calls and figure out what was going on in the area and all of that. And so I said, now I got to get myself together. I got to get myself back in position. I got to get myself back in position. I got to get myself back in position. Who am I talking to? And I'm not just referring to, my physical positioning, but also my mental positioning, right? Because sometimes when we are doing things and we are forging ahead and something comes in to disconnect us or to interrupt what we're doing, it will mess with our headspace. But we gotta know that when God is in the picture, that we cannot go based on what we feel. We can allow our emotions to carry us. We can't allow our feelings, right? We can't allow our feelings to make decisions for us, right? Because we can make decisions based on how we feel. So I could have simply said, you know what? I don't feel it now. I'm not gonna. But the Lord gave you this word. You need to get out there and you need to say what the Lord said. You need to share it, right? And that doesn't have anything to do with my feelings. It has to do with my obedience to what God has called me to do. And so I'm talking to somebody. Charlene says you're talking to me. You are talking to me. So I came to shake you up a little bit. Yes, Charlene. Yeah, we came to shake you up a little bit to say you cannot settle in that. You cannot settle in that. You can't settle in disappointment. You can't settle and be content and just enough. I'm talking to y'all this afternoon. Hey, Lisa, how are you? You cannot settle in complacency. You can't settle in just getting by. No, because we serve a God who does exceedingly and abundantly above all we can ever ask or think according to the power that's working in us. And so I believe that anything that we submit and commit to the hands of God, that he will ensure that it prospers. And if we commit it and submit it into the hands of God, we got to keep on moving forward. God said it, right? God said it, that settles it. God, what do they say? God said it, I believe it, that settles it. And so God will come, he will come and he will stir, he will begin to trouble the waters where we are. He'll begin to make a shift and a stirring in our atmosphere, which will lead us down a different path, right? And so when we think about Moses and we think about him on the backside of the mountain, tending to the flock, and then all of a sudden, in this place of contentment, all of a sudden, there is a flame of fire burning out of the midst of a bush. There is a flame of fire. There is something that is unusual. There is something that is out of the norm. There is something that doesn't even seem to be possible, right? That happens to get Moses' attention. It gets Moses' attention because God is getting ready to shift him. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Whew, I gotta rest right there. I gotta kind of woosah right there. Because that somebody now you're getting ready. Some wheels are turning. You're kind of, you're kind of in a place where now you're kind of thinking about some stuff like, okay, let me see if this applies to my life. Let me see. So when things begin to happen that are out of the norm, that you can't even explain, like, I can't even explain this. Moses could not explain how in the world is this flame burning from this bush, but it's not being consumed. So it was defying the laws of even nature, right? With this fire, fire is all consuming, but it did not consume the bush, right? It didn't consume the bush. And so Moses started to turn aside. The Bible said that he turned aside to see, and then God called him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. He called Moses' name. And Moses said, here am I. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Let me say it again. Sometimes God will take situations and circumstances that don't make sense, that don't align with what's going on in your life, that happen suddenly, that seem to come out of nowhere, right? That to get your attention because he's ready to shift you. He's ready to shift you. And that's what I want you to begin to think about, because that's what was happening to Moses right there, this burning bush. And the Bible says he turned aside to see what was going on with the bush. But then God spoke to him and said, Moses, Moses, like, don't get so caught up with what you see in this situation. I want you to hear me because I'm calling your name. Lord have mercy. This is good to me, y'all. Don't get so caught up in the abnormality of what you're seeing, or don't be so fascinated, or don't turn aside and attribute what's happening to anything else other than me. That's what I hear God saying. And we got to be careful that we don't miss his voice in the midst of all of the stuff that's going on, because it is a setup, it is a divine interruption to get you out of a place of complacency and contentment into a place of fully walking into your purpose. Okay? And so everything ain't the devil. I think that's what I'm just trying to say, y'all. Everything ain't the devil. Stop giving him so much credit. Some things are as a result of our resistance to do what God has told us to do. And so what happens is situations will begin to occur that God allows because, he tried to talk to you and you didn't even respond. He tried to be gentle with you. He tried to show you another way. And because you were so engrossed and you were so content and, you just had it going on and you were doing your thing, then God says, okay, let me shift this thing a little bit. Let me shake things up in their lives just a little bit, because I need them. The kingdom has need of them. Come on. So remember, let's go back to the beginning, that we were a purpose before we were a person. All right. Hey, Donna, we were a purpose before we were a person. And so what does that mean? It means that God had intention for us in the earth. right? There's an intention for our lives. And so we got to begin to know that sooner or later, if we are not seeking to find out what God's intention is for our lives, if we're just living lives and we're just, ignoring God, we're not acknowledging him, we're not trying to find out what's the next thing. Come on, if we're just living like that, sooner or later it's going to catch up with us, y'all. It's going to catch up with us. And so God will begin to, he will begin to create either interruptions or interventions. Now, this is how I apply these two, same concept. Some of us need to be interrupted. We're doing the right thing. We're on the path that God has called us to be on, but we're kind of dragging our feet and we kind of think we got it figured out. We're kind of doing it our way. We're kind of on autopilot. I believe that God will come into those situations and he will interrupt our norm in order to get us to shift. Okay. So I believe interruptions happen, but I also believe that there are interventions, and we know interventions happen when there is something that is negative or something that is unhealthy that's going on, or something that is putting somebody's life at risk. Then we have these things we call interventions, right? And we all come in and we talk to the person and we tell the person what we see. We're very truthful and all those sorts of things in order to stop them from proceeding down this detrimental path. And I believe that both of those things are happening right now in the body of Christ, outside the body of Christ. I believe that God is trying for some of us to save us from ourselves. Oh my God. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy, right, Posh? I believe that for some of us, God is trying to save us from ourselves because we are so engrossed. We are so self-absorbed that, we've totally ignored the fact that God is still the head of our lives, okay? So those two things are happening. And I believe for Moses that this was a divine, I think it was both for him, He had run from what he had done in his past, and now he's here tending a Jethro's flock, and then God shows up in this burning bush, and Moses tries to turn aside to see, and God is like, listen, I need you to pay attention to me. Lord have mercy. Anytime there is a divine interruption or intervention in our life, it is simply God saying, I need you to pay attention to me. I need you to listen to me. I need you to put your ear to my lips so I can give you the next set of instructions for your life. Because where you are right now is not where you're always going to be. My goodness, this is helping somebody this afternoon. Where you are right now is not where you will always be. There is a greater call on your life. The anointing on your life is there for something greater than you. It's greater than you. That's why we have to feel the feeling, but choose the behavior, because our feelings will cause us to forfeit our future. Our feelings, come on, doesn't know anything. Our feelings is not in tune with the will of God for our lives. Many times, we talk about our soul, our mind, our will, and our emotions. If our mind, will, and emotions are not connected properly, blessings to you for the crown over in TikTok. If our mind and will and emotions are not subjected, if our spirit is not going before our soul, you see, what's supposed to happen is our soul is supposed to take directions from our spirit, right? Our spirit is one with God. Holy Spirit, he dwells in us. He's with us. He's around us. He leads us into all truths. So if we are out of alignment and we have fed our soul more than we have fed our spirit, what begins to happen is our soul takes precedence. And so whatever whim we feel, whatever desire we have, when our soul has been fed more than our spirit, we'll go with whatever the wind blows in, right? But if our spirit is leading, then our spirit, which is subject to the mind of God, will lead us down the right path. And when we are not staying in the presence of God, when we're not praying as we ought to, when we're not staying, of course, in meditation of the word and things of that sort, when we're not staying around the right people who will feed our spirit and atmospheres that will feed our spirit, it is so important that we be in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right thing. Because when we're not, we are apt to go down the wrong path. And so we have to be certain that we are being led by the Spirit so we don't fulfill the lust of the flesh. Okay? We got to be led by the Spirit. And so God will, at different times and various times in our lives, there'll have to be some things that happen to get us on the right path, or to get us on the greater path, or to get us to go to the next level. Because some of us have been dumbing down. We have been making excuses. We've been apologizing for who we are. We've been watering down who we are because we want the people around us to feel, we want the people around us to feel comfortable with us, right? You know, this is who I've always been. And if I act different, then people are going to say I'm acting different. But the truth of the matter is this: you should be acting different. You should be doing some different things. You should be having a different approach to life. You should have a different focus. There should be a different drive in this season. There should be some things that you absolutely positively cut off. And there should be some things that you begin to adopt in your life for this season. Because everything that you've always done, people you've always been involved in, they are not going to facilitate where you are going. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And so you're kind of playing this tug of war back and forth. Should I be great, or should I, stay where I've been? I don't want to have to explain to people, that I love Jesus like I do. I don't have to explain to my family, why I'm always, talking about Jesus, and I'm in church and I'm always talking about the word. I don't want people to think that I'm a, Jesus fanatic or anything like that. I want people to think I'm a Jesus fanatic all day long, thinking about me. Because if you don't, then I'm missing the mark. Because I want you to see my love for God. I want you to see my love for the things of God. I want you to know that there is no other way. I want you to know that He's the way, the truth, and the life. That there is no way to the Father but by Jesus. I want you to know that. The Bible tells us that we are an open book that is read of men. So that means that we are always telling a story through the life that we live. Lord have mercy. We are always telling a story through the life that we're living. And so we know what happened to Moses, the burning bush. God began to speak to him. God began to tell him, listen, the cry of my people have come up to me, okay, by reason of their taskmasters, that they are being treated badly, that they are being abused, that they are under bondage as a result of the Egyptians, right? And he says, I need you, Moses, to go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go, to set my people free, right? That was the big assignment on his life. But if God had not come in and interrupted his norm, he would have stayed in the place where he always was. He would stay complacent and content doing what Jethro told him to do versus what God had already and always ordained for him to do. So this is the question, y'all. Do we stay stuck in places so that we can be pleasing to man, and so that we can fulfill what man wants us to do and forfeit what God has told us to do? Like, it's in those times, it's in those places and spaces. Some of you have been crying out to God, Lord, help me. You've been crying out to God because you've been in these places, and God is divinely interrupting your lives, just like he did, because there is a greater cause. There is the greater cause of the kingdom that must be fulfilled. That's why he put you in the earth. That's why you're here. Your primary purpose, if you don't know, your primary purpose is to fulfill the will of God. And he gives us various and different ways that we all fulfill our call. Everybody doesn't do it the same. Some of us have been called to preach and teach and pray and prophesy and do all of that. Others of us have been called out to the marketplace and to one of the 7 or multiple mountains of cultural influence. We all have a different call in our lives, y'all. And so God will divinely interrupt our process. He'll pull people, he'll yank people from us. He'll make it so that, we lose things or that we're in different situations around different people. He will interrupt our flow so that the will of God, the will of our Heavenly Father is done in and through our lives, okay? And so We're always telling the story through the life that we live. Somebody's reading your book. Somebody's reading the pages of your book by the way you live, what you do, the decisions you make, the people that you are around. It all tells a story. It all tells a story. So we know that God speaks to Moses, right? And he tells him, listen, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. And God, he continues to talk to him. He continues to tell him, listen, I've seen the affliction of my people, and I've heard their cry, and I know their sorrows, and I am come down. This is what's so amazing about this story to me, y'all. He says, I am come down to deliver them. Now, he's talking to Moses, right? He's talking about the situation that's going on with the children of Israel. And he says, I have come down. So if God has come down, why is he talking to Moses? If he's come down in all of his sovereignty and all of his greatness and all of his majesty, couldn't he just go and interrupt what was going on in Egypt? Couldn't he just go in there and just slay all of them and just open a way for the children of Israel to walk in their liberty and to come out from under that bondage? Couldn't he just do that? Well, of course he could, but God will not go against his word. And what God did is he made it man in his image and after his likeness, and then he gave us dominion power over the works of his hands. Lord have mercy. I love this. He gave us dominion power over the works of his hands. He says that the heavens belong unto him, but the earth I've given over into the hands of the sons of man. That's me and you. And so we have so much power. And so in essence, this is what God was saying, y'all. He says, I am come down to deliver them. I am come down and I'm going to come in you. I'm going to operate in you to deliver the children of Israel. And so, yes, he did come down in all of his majesty and his power, his might and everything. But he came down and he embodied Moses. He said, I'm going to empower you. I'm going to equip you. I'm going to impart in you. And you are going to act on my stead or in my stead. Y'all get that? So all of us, in fulfilling the purpose on our lives, we are operating. God is using us to stand in his stead. That's why he has to interrupt stuff, because he's not going to come down and he's not going to go against what he said, but he will work in us and through us to get his will done in the earth. And so what we got to understand, while we're being all intimidated and all upset and afraid that we're not able to do it, when we accept the fact that God does for us the same thing that he did for Moses, he says, I surely have seen the affliction, I've heard their cry, and I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a land flowing with milk and honey and all of that. He says, and then he says later on down, he says, now come now therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. Are y'all getting this afternoon? God says, I heard their cry. I know what's needed in the earth. He says, and I have come down. I've come down to address the thing that needs to be changed in the earth. But I'm coming down in and through man. I'm making myself known. I'm exhibiting my power in and through man. Like, this is so good to me. This is so good to me. And so what that does is it eliminates all of this. I don't know if I can do it. I don't think I'm worthy. I don't think I'm capable. I don't have enough education. I don't have the money. I don't have the following. When God has called you to an assignment, when God has created you to fulfill a purpose, all he simply wants to do is to use you to do his will in the earth. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? That he simply wants you to yield yourself to him. He's like Moses, and we know what Moses did. Moses had all of these excuses. He said to God, "Who am I?" He said, "Who am I? Who am I that should go to Pharaoh, that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt?" So the first thing that he did, he said, "Who am I? Who am I?" And so even for Moses, I see you over there, 8 King. He says, how do we get to this point? Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. I'm glad you asked that question. I dare not say all of this and not lead you into the way of the answer of how do I do this? Because we do tend, even in the body of Christ, we say all these great things, but then we don't lead the people in the way that they should go, okay? And so Moses, he was like that. He was like, who am I? Who am I? Who am I that you would use me? And this is what God said. He said, certainly I will be with you. Certainly I'm going to be with you. And then Moses said to him, when I come to the children of Israel and they say to me, what is his name? What shall I say unto them? And God said to Moses, he says, I am that I am. Thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. This kind of brings it all together in really reiterating the point that he does not expect us to go in our name. He doesn't expect us to go in our name. And the way that we get to the point of believing that that's enough, just knowing that is enough, is when we engender this love relationship with God. We begin to understand his characteristics. We begin to understand his attributes. We begin to understand his love for us. We saturate ourselves in his presence through prayer, through intercession. God will begin to speak. God will bring people in your life that will begin to speak truth into you. God will begin to give you strategies for strengthening yourself in whatever area. Now, this is what I believe, y'all. This is what I believe, that in instances like this, let me tell you what God did. Let me tell you. This is good. Moses said to him, he began, remember when he began to tell him in chapter 4, after all of this exchange with God, Moses still isn't sure. He says, I'm not eloquent in speech. I am slow in speech and I am of a slow tongue. Y'all remember that? Isn't that amazing that God would choose somebody who is slow in speech, who's not eloquent in tongue, and he would choose that person to go and be his mouthpiece for such an amazing assignment such as this, right? So God tells him, he says to him, y'all, can y'all listen to this? Don't jump off. Listen to this. God says to him, who hath made man's mouth? Who has made man's mouth? Hey, Tara, I see you over on Facebook. Who has made man's mouth? And who makes the dumb or the deaf or the seeing or the blind? Have not I the Lord? He's saying, Moses, who created your mouth? Who made you like you are? And God gives him what he needs. God gives him, I know I saw that it was. God gives him what he needs. And God says, your brother Aaron, he says, I will send him with you. I'll send him with you because he speaks very well. And he'll be glad. And he says, and thou shalt speak unto him and put words in his mouth, and I will be with thy mouth and with his mouth, and will teach you what ye shall do. He says, I'll be with you. I'll be with Aaron. He says, I'll put in your mouth what you need to say. I believe this, y'all. This is what I was getting ready to say a minute ago. I believe in every assignment that comes from God. I believe that there is a part that God will do, and then there is a part that we must do, right? So with Moses, I believe that God told him, listen, I created your mouth. Tell them that I sent you. I've made you great. I'll be with Aaron. I'll give you help. I'll do all of this. But then what does Moses have to do? Moses has to put his faith in what God said. He has to put it into action. So now he has to step out. He has to step out. He cannot stay on the backside of the mountain, the backside of the desert, tending the flock. He can't stay there. He has to move. He has to make some moves in order to fulfill the assignment. So you got to move out of places of being comfortable. You got to get around the right people. You got to begin to, do your part. Do you need more education? Do you need more training? Do you need to partner with someone? Do you need to be mentored? Do you need to be coached? Do you need to be, I don't know, are you in the right church? Do you have the right leadership? Do you have, because all of these things in their totality provide great support and a great foundation for you to move out into the things that you did lose me on TikTok. I'm glad y'all are coming over on Facebook. That's awesome. Is it Dornay? God bless you. Yeah, I don't know what's going on over there. Hey, Aisha, how are you? And so there has to be some movement. Faith without works is absolutely positively 100% dead. And so we have to move out and we got to begin to take action and do the things that God has told us to do. I hope that helps somebody today. But listen, hey, Patricia, how you doing, darling? But we gotta go out there and we gotta do it. And sometimes we gotta do it afraid. Sometimes we gotta do it with our teeth chattering and our knees buckling, but we gotta do it anyway. And we gotta do it over and over again. Listen, when Moses went to speak to Pharaoh, he didn't only go to him one time because Pharaoh didn't yield the first time. He didn't yield. So what? So Moses had to keep on going back and keep on going back and keep on going back. Because God had already told him, I'm going to come down and I'm going to deliver the children of Israel and I'm going to use you. So he had to keep on doing it over and over and over again. Why do we think that we can do something one time and when it doesn't work, we say that it didn't work? Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, dear. We got to keep on. If I could tell y'all how many times that I've had to do things over and over again, try again, revamp it, restructure it, put it back out there again, do this, try it again. As a coach, I've been coaching full time for that's it, girl. That's my daughter, y'all. I have so many amazing spiritual daughters, and this is what I tell them. They know I tell them. So they're listening, but they have heard all of this. They have heard all this. Those that I've coached, those that I've mentored, those that are my spiritual daughters, some of them are all of those. And I always say, you got to do it afraid. You got to do it afraid, okay? And you got to believe that God is who he says that he is. And I'm telling you, things are going to mess up. Things are going to break down. Listen, today, all kind of stuff has been happening today. Enemy did not want me to get this word out. Now, TikTok is shutting down over here. I don't know. Earlier today, it was everything else shutting down. But you know what? I'm going to keep it moving. I'm going to keep it moving. And you got to have that bulldog tenacity that says, I'm going to keep it moving. You may have knocked me down one time, but guess what? I'm going to get back up. And every time the enemy tries to knock you down, you know what you do? You give him a black eye. That's what I call it. I call giving the enemy a black eye when we do the thing that he tells us that we can't do. Oh, you tell me that I can't go live? You tell me that I can't talk to people? I'm going to get up there and I'm going to go live 1,000,000 times. You tell me that I can't write a book? Oh, really? I'm going to write 1,000,000 books. You tell me that I can't, overcome this vice in my life, this addiction, this whatever it is, I'm going to work even the more because I know that God is greater than any situation in my life. And so we have to have it. The bulldog tenacity that says, I will not quit. Y'all know what I'm getting ready to say. No matter what. No matter what. No matter what. You're just going to have to get sick of me. Somebody's typing. You're just going to have to get sick of me because I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. God has promised you wealth, health, and prosperity. Wealth, health, and prosperity. He has sent you out there to do some great things for and on behalf of the kingdom. And what he simply wants is a yielded soul. You hear me? That's what he wants. He wants somebody that says, God, if you can use anyone, you can use me. And whatever you're doing in this season, don't do it without me. Don't do it without me. I'm going to yield myself to you. Don't do it without me. Right? And so we got to keep it moving. We got to be like Moses. We got to keep on going back. We got to keep on going back. Because at the end of the day, what God said is what he said. What God said is what he said. And you cannot stop. That's right, Aisha. I'm not taking my foot off the gas. I'm not full throttle. Got to yield yourself to the Lord. You got to say, God, here I am. Like, he said, Moses. And Moses said, here am I. And we got to answer the call of God. And this is the wonderful thing, y'all, is that God, all he wants is a yielded body, and then he does the rest. Lord have mercy. He does the rest. Moses said, I can't speak. I can't talk. How am I going to do this? God's like, I got you. And that's the way it is with each and every one of us. If you've been called to do great things in the kingdom, out in the marketplace, whatever it is, don't stop. Because God is divinely interrupting. He's divinely interrupting processes. He's pulling you out of the norm. Come on. Anytime you are in transition from one level to the next, man, there's going to be a space and a place where it may seem like, think about this. When you get on the elevator, the door opens. It's an open door. You get in the elevator, the door closes. Before you get to the next level, you got to go on the ride. You got to go on the journey to that floor, whether it's the next floor or all the way up to the top. Before you can go to that next level, you have to go through the journey of elevation. And the journey of elevation is not always easy. It's not always easy. But when you get there, when you're at your designated place, that door is going to open and you're going to walk out into something new, something fresh. You're going to walk out. You're going to walk out into something that you have never seen before. I had this dream several years ago and I'll never forget it. I had this dream. I'm not going to tell the whole dream because I've already been on here for an hour now, but I had this dream. I was standing at the elevator and I had an appointment at the top floor of that elevator. I think it was maybe the 12th floor of that elevator. And I was scared to get in the elevator, but I finally got in the elevator and I was trying to negotiate. And I was trying to say, well, can I just go to the 5th floor? Or can I just go to the 7th floor? But I remember in that dream, God was saying, no, there's no other way except if you go all the way to the top. All the way to the top. And so there were people that were in the elevator and they were encouraging me because I can remember in the dream, I was very afraid of the elevator because I kept on thinking about 9/11, about when the planes crashed into the towers there in New York. Remember that, right? And I can remember in my dream, I was afraid, but there were people that were, that is when, yeah, it absolutely is. But there were people in that elevator that kept on saying, no, I'll go with you. I'll go with you. There's no other way. And I remember God saying, to the top or not. And I did a Facebook Live, a Periscope on that. To the top or not. To the top or not. There is no other way, that you got to go all the way to the top. And though you may be fearful, boots, shaking in your boots, You got to stand in there. God will bring people along the way to help you during the ride that will let you know that you're going to be okay, that you don't have to be afraid. And so I went all the way to the top. I got in the elevator. I went all the way to the top. When I got to the top, the elevator doors opened and I stepped out. And when I stepped out of that elevator, it was the most magnificent scene that I had ever beheld in my entire life. Like there was nothing but glass all around me. And I had this amazing view of the city. And I could see it wasn't nothing but blue skies, and it was a sunny day. I still see that in the eyes of the spirit. I still see that. And so I know that there's a place to go. And I could not have gotten that view except I went to the top. There's no other way. Except I took that journey all the way to the top, I would have missed out on that view. And there's some of you, listen, God is divinely interrupting you because he wants you to see the full view. He does not want you to settle. He doesn't want you to settle for the 5th floor or the 7th floor. And those were the floors: 5, number of grace; 7, number of completion, right? He doesn't want you to stop there. He wants you to go all the way. Number 12 is the number of divine order or government, God's government and God's order. So let me tell you, I'll never forget that dream, and it still ministers to me. And I hope it helps somebody this afternoon to know that there are some divine interruptions, and it's only because God loves you. It's only because God wants the best for your life. He wants the best for your life. So I hope you guys got something good from this broadcast. Listen, that's good. May 7th, 5/7 is my graduation date this year. Yes. Yes, I love it. This is a word for you. Is it Lisa or Liza? I don't want to keep on mispronouncing your name. I appreciate your being on. You're so amazing. But I want to tell y'all, one of the things that keeps us from moving forward is, let me put this up, and then I'll talk about it. So this week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a hold on a minute. I'm going to do a masterclass on Thursday, this week, Thursday. And I want you guys, I want you to participate, okay? Because this is one of the major issues when it comes to us advancing to the levels of success that God has ordained for our lives, okay? And I note it as the let's see if it's going to pop up here. I'm telling you, like, technology doesn't want me to be great today, but it's okay. I note it as the inner critic. Can y'all still hear me? Let me know if you hear me, okay? Let me know if you hear me. The inner critic. And so the Lord, it wasn't. Some people have registered, so let's go out and try it again. And for some reason, it's not coming up. You can still hear me? Okay, so I'm going to keep on talking even while. Okay, good. And so I'm doing a master class on this Thursday, and it's called Silencing the Inner Critic. I was trying to bring up the flyer, but it won't let me. It was trying not to let me be great, but I'm going to still do it anyway. So it's called Silencing the Inner Critic, Unleashing the Authentic You. I'm going to do that on Thursday, and I would love it. Can you guys see? You can see it? Okay, I don't see it on my end. And so, oh, you do. Awesome. And so, one thing that I know for sure is that, we always saying, well, the enemy is doing this, the enemy is doing that, the devil is doing this, the devil is doing that. The truth of the matter is this, that it's not always the devil. It's not always the devil. Sometimes it's simply what we tell ourselves and what we listen to, okay? And we know it. Anybody that is coached with me know that we identify as the inner critic. Yes, the enemy, he does talk, but I believe that when we get to the point where we have a stronghold in our life, the enemy goes about his business, because then we're left there and we keep ourselves in bondage. So he ain't got to speak it, because now we start telling ourselves these things, okay? And so I'm going to talk about that, because there are ways for us to overcome this, so that we can, we give him the power. And so now we start, saying the same thing and showing up the same way and all that kind of stuff, when God has said that we are more than conquerors. And so I want to invite you all to participate in the masterclass. If somebody can type it for me, because my computer won't even let me type at this point. It's bit.ly / you see it there on the flyer, bit.ly / I'm unmuted. I am UNMUTED. Somebody can type that. I can't even type on my computer anymore. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm telling you, this technology stuff, somebody's gonna get a breakthrough. That's all I know. Somebody is gonna get a breakthrough. That's what's getting ready to happen. Somebody is going to get a breakthrough. That's why all this craziness is happening. Okay. And so go on. It's absolutely no cost, but you are required to register. You are required to register. We need you to go on and register so we will know who is in the room. So we'll know who's in the room. Okay, so go on. All caps, Angelica, please. All caps for I'm unmuted. Okay, all caps. Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. So go on and put that in all caps. Thank you. That's it right there. Because let me tell you, it does make a difference whether or not you put those letters in uppercase or lowercase. But I want to see you in the room because it's time out. Like it is totally time out for your talking yourself out of the greatest season and the greatest victories in your life. And how do I know? How do I know? What makes me capable and qualified to talk about this? Because been there, done that, got the t-shirts, got the cups, got everything. I know what it's like. But God has really given me the ability to be able to build a level of consistency in my life, regardless of what's going on around me. And I want to impart that into those of you who are interested in listening and participating and seeing what God has to say about all of this inner critic stuff. And so we're going to shut and silence the mouth of the inner critic so that we can move forward and be great, right? Because God, He's crowned us with loving kindness and tender mercies. We are God's choice and God's idea. And so we got to KIM, we got to keep it moving. Thank you guys for coming on. God bless you. I really, really appreciate your taking the time to be a part of this broadcast on this afternoon. And we'll be back on at some other times to talk about what we're doing. I was going to share that my coaching certification program, we're beginning another cohort. I can't show that flyer right now because it has me locked up for some reason. I don't know. But we have a new cohort of coaches that we're going to certify starting April the 17th. April the 17th, that's next month. We're going to start that new cohort of training coaches. And some of you that are watching, some of you that are listening today, you know that you have that call on your life to be able to coach. I know. There's something that keeps on telling you that you can't do it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Something's telling you that it's for everybody else. No, it's for you. It's for you. So we want to invite you to be a part of that. Yep, it's this month. It's in 2 weeks. We'll be starting that next cohort. But I tell you what, Charlene is one of my coaches. Patria is one of my coaches that I certified. Who else is on here? Who else? Aisha is one of my coaches. So we have several of them that are on right now. So we want you to be. Oh, that would be great, Kiana. Since they want you to coach, that's right. That's right. Let them do that, right? So we're so excited about that class that's coming up and the master class that's coming up in just a couple days. And I wouldn't miss it if I were you. Especially the master class on Thursday, when we'll be delving into the dynamic of this whole inner critic and this inner voice that keeps you from doing what you know that you've been called to do. Because when the divine interruption comes, you got to say yes. You got to have the right answer. Okay. So listen, y'all, I love you much. Thank you for being on this afternoon. We're going to go on and close out the broadcast, but we'll see you on again very, very soon. And remember this. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. Okay. Blessings.